if nothing comes up, if you don't really have an answer for it, that's fine. I just want to get a couple sentences down about each one. So starting with the 100, with the AIM 100, what would be like a general purpose for a coiler this size? Or a couple examples.
Well, I could probably answer that. You're looking for applications like like a lawnmower spring or a bicycle spring or whatever.
Yeah.
Markets,
if you got any.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty broad. That may be of interest to a guy in the spring industries. That's not going to mean much to him, but somebody who is looking at these spring coilers would probably find that pretty interesting. So I'll go through that and give you examples for each coiler.
Okay.
I'm just kind of drawing a blank right now, but a big market right now too. You hear about all these oil wells and fracking and everything.
Yeah.
That's big. That's AIM 3000 size springs. We've had a lot of inquiries on those coilers. In fact, I'm pretty close on selling one of those right now to a customer.
So they make a particular piece of equipment for the oil industry, basically, or do you have any idea what they're doing?
To be honest with you, I don't know exactly how it works, but when you're dropping this pipe down in the ground, a couple miles deep or however deep they go with it, all of those rigs there's just, springs and shock absorbers and everything, and maybe even down inside of there springs to absorb shock. I'm not sure exactly where they go in there, but it's a big market for heavy duty springs.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. And it keeps going, so it looks like you
put that what was it? That video on our LinkedIn. And that was from one of the trade shows, Invented or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And but that was a pretty good series of videos. And those guys were. Did you watch any of those videos at all, or?
I'm not sure. I mean, I watched the one that I posted, but I'm not sure if there was more link to it or what.
Yeah, there was other ones in there. I think that was. I know Fox Valley was on there, and. That was the link that was there was Midwest Spring, and they're actually a customer of ours down in Logansport. Mm-hmm. They've got another division here in Muskegon, and we work with those guys. We just delivered some stuff over there the other day. But anyways, those sales guys at these trade shows, they had all these springs in front of them, and in these videos they sat and they talked about what the spring applications were for. So. If you go back to that and watch, there's so many purposes for springs you wouldn't believe it. I've got one on my desk right now. A guy just sent it in from Wisconsin, and it's a long coil, about 36 inches long. Kind of got a flared head out on one end, and closed coils on both ends. But then they take this thing and they put it into a sleeve, and it becomes part of a filter unit. They might drop 200 of these things vertically down into a tank, and then the reason for that flare on one end is it stops it from dropping through the hole. There's a hole through a stainless steel top, and that flare keeps it from dropping through that hole. Then they sandwich another stainless steel top on that to seal it. Then they pressurize that whole vessel. And so that they pump fluid in there, they pressurize it, and then the fluid goes through that screen and out those orifices, and it's a filter unit. The sleeve we're putting it in is just they spray that and coat it with a bunch of other filter type materials, but the only purpose of the spring, it's not really a spring, it's just to keep that sleeve, rigid and open.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's just like a lot of that too, and all these invasive type surgeries. They call those, catheters. And they put that catheter up your groin, and then they can actually run a bunch of tools and stuff up inside of that catheter. So it's just a highway through your body to get tools up to your heart or brain or whatever they're doing surgery on. So it's not really acting like a spring, but it's got to be flexible and have a certain feel to it.
So that again, that just forms that frame for the sleeve, basically, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting stuff.
Yeah, and then they can't just be the stainless, wire. It might be round wire. A lot of them are done with ribbon, but like thin stainless ribbon might be 3/1000 thick by an 1/8 inch wide. We did a coiling project for a company in Florida last year on that, but that's just the form. But then that gets all encapsulated into other plastics and polymers, and it's just part of that medical device.
Mm-hmm. So,
same thing like on that turbulator coil, that copper coil that we did a video of. That's not a spring. It's just a convenient way to put that inside of a tube to turbulate the fluid going through.
Right. Yeah, I thought that was interesting. It basically just helps move the air around a little, helps mix it up, right?
It just keeps when you push water through a pipe, it's pretty laminar.
Mm-hmm.
And for better heat transfer, if you turbulate that or make that fluid churn around, then your heat transfer is a lot better, a lot more efficient.
Yeah. So it looks like a spring, but it's not a spring, just a coil.
Right. Yeah. And so a lot of applications like that. But I'll come up with a list of applications for each coiler for you.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be great. That's one of my main questions for these. So that basically I have the same questions for everyone. So I can just send you that as a reminder after we talk. But there are a couple more that maybe we can just get through here. It might be a little quicker. So I'll ask you, see what you think.
Okay.
Okay. So talked about some example uses. What about common ways that you would customize, like the AIM 100, for example? If you're building I guess you don't. Common ways maybe isn't the right phrase, but anything that comes to mind that like an easy configuration that you can make out of this for a particular type of spring.
Yeah. Well, like that AIM 100 coiler. Well, that covers 6/1000 to 32/1000 wire.
Yeah.
And one key point is there are feed rolls in our wire guides that are standard on the equipment. They cover that whole wire range. There's actually 3 grooves in there. So the smallest groove might handle 6 to 12/1000 wire. The middle groove will handle 13 to 22/1000 wire, and then the big groove will handle 23 to 32. And people like that because they don't have to change those wheels and wire guides out every time they do a changeover. But right in the specific tooling area where you're doing your coiling, there you do have to control your wire more tightly. And so you get into a block guide. That's like your final, imagine this wire kind of flowing through the machine. Right where you start doing your work and you start getting, higher forces and stuff, you really got to control your wire more closely. And, the better you can control your wire, the more consistent your spring's going to be. So there's a block guide and a coiling point, which both have grooves in them. And then you've got an arbor. That's what your wire's coming around. That size is kind of the ID of your part. And then you got a pitch tool, which puts spacing between there. And pitch tool's not real critical, but those other tools and the positioning are pretty important. There's guys who can, real good setup guys, and, they can make a spring that'll run 10 times better than another guy, just on consistency and capability.
Mm-hmm.
But, so that's kind of the standard stuff. The next step would be, that's a job shop spring company kind of thing. They're changing those tools out, making them work. And then there's application. A recent one would be that We've Got Mail. Those jewelry rings and stuff.
Right.
And